Hello, and welcome to Germantown Municipal Television's special coverage of Election 2018. My name is Emma Holley, a student at Houston High, and I'm excited to bring you interviews with Germantown Board of Education candidates. Joining me now is a candidate for the Board of Education Position 2, Brian Curry. Mr. Curry is a current member of the Dogwood Elementary School Parent-Teacher Association and has over 20 years of business experience from working at FedEx. He has two daughters that are currently in the Germantown Municipal Public School System. He is here to give us some insight into his plans as a Board of Education member for the City of Germantown. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you, Emma.
So to start off, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be a school board member?
Sure, Emma. So I have two daughters, as you mentioned. They're both at Dogwood Elementary. And I look at them and I look at their friends and their parents, and I want to bring my business skill set to the table to help them and make the school district the best it can be for them.
Okay. Well, since Germantown Municipal School District opened, what accomplishment are you most proud of as a Germantown resident?
I'm glad to see that our teachers are getting recognized. Just yesterday, Mr. Robinson from here at HHS was recognized as West Tennessee Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Brignoli from Farmington recently got to go to the White House. And then my own personal experience, my kindergartner, well, now she's in first grade, but last year she had Mrs. Matthews over at Dogwood, and this year every day she goes and gives Mrs. Matthews a hug. And so it just tells me the kind of impact that our teachers are making, and I'm very proud of that for our district. I think it's great overall for us.
Okay, so what do you see as the value of having your own school district?
Well, first of all, we have local control. And when we started the district back in 2013, that was the main push, was for us to have local control. And so now we have that. And if I'm elected to the board, you'll see me at Target or Kroger or wherever. And if you have concerns, you can always say, hey, Brian, here's my concern, and I'm there to listen. So I think having that that local ownership and being vested in the community, I think it's good for all of us. And really in Germantown, we're all in this together. And I really feel like that's just really an asset just to the community and our school system in general.
Okay, so what would you like to see Germantown Municipal School District accomplish in the future?
Well, here's one for you, and I don't know if you knew this. In the Tennessee Code Annotated, which is our state law, 49-2-202, there is a section with school boards, and high school students actually are able to be seated on the board as non-voting members. A lot of people don't know that. Our current board does not utilize that, but it is in the law. And so if I get on the board, one of the things I'd like to do just for high school students such as yourself is to have their voice heard and to explore how do we institute that here in Germantown. It wouldn't be something where we would just say, hey, okay, we're going to do this, but I would like for us to explore as a district how we can do that, because I think from a student perspective, it would be great for you for college and just your resume saying, hey, I actually sat on the school board. But for us as board, it gives you a chance to be heard, and I think that would be something really good for our district if we could accomplish that.
Okay. Now, what state legislative concerns do you have for our district?
I have many. Testing, which I'm sure is near and dear to your heart. The amount of standardized testing that we have here in this, and really in the state, is just absurd. I know we have to have tests. You need to gauge progress. I know for my own daughters, I like seeing their benchmark test, because if I need to intervene as a parent, then I'm able to do that to assist the teacher. But for the amount of standardized testing that we have, it's just very troubling. But it takes people advocating. It takes people going to their state senators, their state representatives, and saying, hey, we've had enough. It's not fair to the teachers for them to be assessed on how good that you may do on a test, because if you're having a bad day, how are you going to do on a test? And so I think we put way too much weight on that. So I think that should be the number one concern. We as a district can drive that. We can drive the narrative. We can rally the troops, if you will, to say, hey, parents, we really need you to contact your representatives and your state senators and say, look, enough is enough. So that's probably the number one concern we have. The other concern from a state level is funding. So there's a formula called BEP, and it's a really convoluted formula how we get our educational funding. And we really need the state to work on that for us to get the money that we need in order to provide the programs for you and other students to make sure we're delivering the best education experience possible.
Okay. So in the wake of the era of school choice, how do you see yourself promoting not just our district, but also public education in general?
So I think we as a board definitely have to promote the good that we're doing here in the community. And we have to say GMSD is doing a lot of great things. And to our credit, our board is doing that. But what we need to do is make sure that we're providing a viable alternative for parents who are not sure if they want to send their kids to GMSD. So we need to say, hey, you can get a world-class education here at Houston High School, and you don't need to send your kid to Christian Brothers or Lausanne. Like, you can get just as good of an education here. So a lot of that comes through our course offerings, making sure we're competitive from that standpoint, and then making sure that we as a board are really driving excellence to make sure that we're delivering the value that the parents who they sent you to school, that we're giving the parents the value that they expect, and really give that value to our homeowners in the city who may not have kids in school, but they're in this as well. And so if we have a good system overall, everyone in the city benefits.
Okay. So what concerns do you have about education funding in our district?
So as I mentioned, the state, again, we could probably do an hour-long segment on the ills of the BEP formula and how it negatively impacts us, and I'm sure you've heard our superintendent talk about that over time. So that's from a state level, that's a concern. But from a local level, we need to make sure that we are getting the funding that we need from the local level.
Okay.
And I think some candid conversations have to occur between our Board of Education and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And in the city, there's a Financial Advisory Commission that works on the budget. So I think everyone has to be on the same page as to how much a school system costs to run. And I think there's some really difficult conversations that have to occur. And there has to be some prioritization from the city level to make sure we're adequately funding our schools. Our schools right now are in the bottom 16% in the state for funding. We get roughly around $400 per student here in Germantown. Oak Ridge over in East Tennessee, by comparison, gives $3,000 per student, and then Tullahoma over in Middle Tennessee is around $1,500. So I'm not saying that we need to bust the bank from a tax perspective, but from a priority standpoint, I think our citizens have to really make their voice heard and really drive home with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen that, hey, we expect a certain level of educational funding and to do right by our students and teachers.
Okay, so how would you nurture and strengthen our relationship with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to ensure that our students' needs are being met?
Well, first off, we need to meet on a regular basis. They'd gone well over a year without a formal board-to-board meeting.
Okay.
And so we have to meet because the Board of Mayor and Aldermen have to know what our needs are. And quite frankly, I think the Board of Mayor and Aldermen really should be more active as far as looking at our schools. I've kind of said, tongue-in-cheek, but again, my kids are at Dogwood, that they should have a meeting over in the bathrooms at Dogwood. Yeah. And then the bathrooms would probably get fixed pretty quickly. And so I think for them to see the conditions that our teachers and parents and students that they see, I think would be good overall. But I think we have to have a working relationship, and there has to be a respectful relationship. I know that I have met all of the 5 Board of Mayor and Aldermen throughout this process, and so I think having that relationship and having a respectful dialogue, but we have to have the dialogue and we have to have those conversations and meet.
Okay.
Sure.
So how will you foster partnerships with groups that are going to support our schools?
All right, so what comes to mind first and foremost is the PTO.
Okay.
All right, so the PTO, I always say if you want to know what's going on at the school, ask the PTO. They will tell you. But I think our parents are doing such good work in the schools that, we would do very well to listen to them and really take their concerns to heart because they're seeing it. Yeah. They're in there, on a daily basis helping out. So I think our PTOs would be the one to listen to. And then we also have in the city, we have a Germantown Education Commission, which is a city commission. Now they work to support all the schools in the city, but they also have a Teacher of the Month award and a Student of the Month award. And I think what we should do as far as a promotion is to make sure that we're providing names to the Education Commission for consideration. And that way our performance from the teacher standpoint and the student standpoint is recognized.
Okay, so the district is building a new elementary school and opened a new wing at Riverdale to address overcrowding in the district. What additional capital projects would you like to see in our district?
Houston Middle, first and foremost, is in desperate need of immediate relief. They have students sharing lockers over there. The common areas are crowded. The lunch periods are short. And it's really not fair to the students and teachers over there. So I think we need to give them some immediate relief. Furthermore, I would like for us to take a long-term look, not just 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. What does Houston High School look like? What does Riverdale look like? Riverdale, the old part, is 60 years old. Dogwood just celebrated his 40th birthday, and I think Farmington's around the same age. So I think we have to look down the road, what are these facilities going to look like? And we have to start talking about it now and not waiting until the time comes, because when that happens, then the money's probably not going to be there, and and then we're going to be in a worse position than we are now. So I think long-range vision and looking ahead is really where we need to go with that.
Okay. Are there any issues in our schools that you would like to address?
I'm still concerned about bullying. Now, I know we're on the right track, and our district is doing some good things, but I like to say if we're at a marathon, that's mile one of a marathon. So we still have a long way to go. I don't think we need to have any students feel that they're unable to go to school because of the way they've been treated. So that means having people for students to talk to. That means setting a standard that we're not going to accept bullying in this district. And so I think we still have a ways to go, but I think we owe it to those in the district, to everyone, but we need to make sure that everyone has the same opportunity and really can come to school each day and feel like they're able to learn without interference.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us here today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Now that's all the time we have for this interview. I'd like to thank my guest, Brian Curry, who is running for Germantown Board of Education Position 2. If you'd like to watch more of our election coverage, please follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Germantown Municipal Television. We hope you will join us on Election Day for our live exit polling numbers for the Germantown Mayor, Alderman, and Board of Education campaigns. You can watch us on Comcast Channel 17, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and on our YouTube page. We'll be back with more interviews from Germantown Board of Education candidates.